Hello, everyone. This is Keith Stone with the Center for Hellenic Studies, and I'm here, as usual, with Greg Nagy and Elen and Janet and Sarah. And we're doing another installment of HeroesX Office Hours for hours 18 and 19, the two Sophocles plays. And the questions are, for 18, how is the god Poseidon relevant to the plot of the drama Oedipus at Colonus by Sophocles? There are many possible answers to this question, but I would ask you to choose only one answer. And for 19, do you think that the plot of the myth of the Sphinx is relevant to the plot of the drama Oedipus Tyrannus by Sophocles? So back to 18. Poseidon and Oedipus at Colonus. What have people been saying?
Well, there's one participant seems to see a connection between Poseidon having good power from horses. So he stresses the story about Poseidon and the place, the rock, the white rock.
Yes, yes.
As important.
Yeah, I think that's a good move right there.
Do they make a particular connection to the horses or the rock with the story of Colonus?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, with this story of Poseidon dreaming, falling asleep and dreaming.
Yeah,
okay.
and then begetting the first horse and all that preoccupation with horses. And I'm fascinated with the etymology of Poseidon, which seems to be, O Lord of the earth, and Lord in the sense of dominator of, and it's a kind of, I don't know, primal visualization of sexual domination of Mother Earth.
So is epithet holder of the earth?
Yeah.
Is that how it goes?
Yeah, and there's that. So all of that has to do with a kind of sexualized relationship. But what fascinates me is that this kind of thing would manifest itself not just in earthquakes, but more interestingly, the coming of freshwater springs out of the earth. And that is, in turn, in many traditions connected with white rocks or just places that are inviting of springs and therefore of a scene of fertilization of the land by fresh water. All too often we think of Poseidon simply as the god of the salt sea, but that specialization is much later. Same goes for Neptune. If you reconstruct the may I say it this way, the Latin cousin of Poseidon, Neptunus was, if you reconstruct the name, was a freshwater god before he ever became a saltwater god.
What else have people been saying on the discussion thread?
Well, to go back on the Poseidon is also mentioned in the play as someone who brings good things from the sea, like the ore. So
True. True. Yes,
right.
You're right. You're right.
And someone's made the point. Poseidon brought the bit and the oar, and is making the connection between guiding or controlling horses and guiding or controlling ships, as in the ship of state.
Well said. That's well said too. And after all, I can't forget that when Poseidon and Athena have their big contest over who will dominate Athens writ large, not just the city, but the whole territory of Athens that we call Attica. Okay, Athena wins, but Poseidon gets all sorts of consolation prizes. And my favorite one is that there is on top of the Acropolis a saltwater spring that was still active in the days of Pausanias, 2nd century CE, and was obviously active much earlier. And this saltwater spring is venerated as a microcosm of the sea itself. So Poseidon has his own thalassa right on top of the Acropolis. And then when you think of the fact that, as Herodotus reports, and there was also an olive tree in the sacred space of Athena, and I mean the older sacred space on the Acropolis, I'm fascinated by something that scientists tell us, that olive trees tend to favor growing in saline soil. And in the case of the region of Athens, but you can say this about the Mediterranean in general, olive trees tend to be flourishing in coastal areas where the soil is saline. So in the case of Athens, you have Poseidon as a sea god, and thank you for making that point, cooperating with Athena as the goddess of the olive. So the sea and olive have a connection there too. But in general, I am so dazzled by the description of Colonus in Sophocles' Oedipus at Colonus. What god isn't represented? What Olympian or underworldly god isn't somehow indicated in those beautiful descriptions of this this wondrous place, which happens to be the hometown, should I say it that way, the home district, the home neighborhood of Sophocles himself, the Mother Earth of Sophocles.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a very crowded place because you have so many gods.
Yes.
Residing there. Yes.
It's just unbelievable.
It's just crawling with gods. Yeah.
So going back to that relationship between Athena and Poseidon,
Yeah.
one of the participants says, wondering about Thebes, which is of course where Oedipus originally came from. Was Poseidon more revered in Thebes?
Ooh, yeah. I'm glad you brought that up. I just don't know, but I doubt it. I doubt it.
Question for further research.
Yes, indeed.
One of the participants pointed out the creation of the first horse in Poseidon and the white rock. So they made the connection of Poseidon uses Colonus and Poseidon and white rock metonymy.
Yes.
Maybe.
Yes. Oh, I'm so glad you brought up metonymy, dear Janet, because what I also see is this strange association of the name Colonus with a hero who is a charioteer or some kind of I don't want to say horseman, because horseman to me is so vague. But he's Colonus in the actual text of Sophocles' Oedipus at Colonus means both a tumulus, that is to say, a mound that marks the resting place of a dead hero. So that's one meaning of Colonus. But the other meaning is a personified hero who is described as hypotes, as a charioteer or some kind of manager of horses. There are other situations like that where the name of a a superhuman force personified, and then the place are somehow the same. And that's what happens here. Colonus, you think that would refer to a landmark, and then by metonymy, as Janet points out, that is to say, part for the whole, or extending from the central point of the system. You have Colonus as the tumulus, as the place that surrounds the tumulus. Then it gets better. It's also the name of a hero who is described as a charioteer. And this is pre-Oedipus, so to speak. That's already there when he comes to this sacred place. And that certainly has lots of associations with Poseidon, with the myth to which Hélène referred, where Poseidon sleeps at the ground zero of a tumulus, which also is a white rock. And then there's this emission of semen. The semen falls on the earth, and then the earth conceives a prototypical horse. My goodness, it's just so much to assimilate all at once. You can kind of imagine that there must have been a whole myth ritual complex, and that Sophocles can freely navigate within that complex.
Can I ask you a little bit about Theseus? Because when he first appears, he's been conducting some sort of ritual for Poseidon, I think.
Yes, he has. And here's something. After all, Theseus is potentially the son of Poseidon. It's one of these dual identities where he has a mortal father, or wannabe father substitute, that's Aegeus, but he also has Poseidon as a potential father. Yes, and so in that way, when Theseus is portrayed as the kind of proto-high priest of Athens, his associations are not so much with Athena, but with Poseidon.
This connection with horses is interesting to me because Oedipus is somebody who could use a horse. He doesn't walk so well, but we only ever see him walking when he gets around, right?
Mm-hmm.
Especially in Oedipus and Colonus, of course, he's walking there. Mm-hmm. But even in Oedipus Tyrannus, well, he's not riding a horse, as far as I recall.
Oh, you're thinking of the primal scene where Laios is saying, "Get out of my way," and Laios is on a chariot. Oedipus is on foot.
Yeah.
Good point. Well, so much symbolism. I doubt we will exhaust all the ingredients that go into any potential answer to that question that I posed to the participants, which gave them, no pun intended, free reign. Ooh,
nice one. With that,
shall we try the next one?
To the other discussion question. Do you think that the plot of the myth of the Sphinx is relevant to the plot of Oedipus Tyrannus? I like this.
Well, this connects directly to what you said, dear Keith, just a minute ago about the way Oedipus walks. If you interpret the name to mean, and it's the closest thing morphologically, he whose foot is swollen, if that is the driving sense of the name Oedipus, then you ask yourself, can a person who has a swollen foot walk straight? And the answer is no, he walks crooked. And I remember the great classicist Jean-Pierre Vernon once illustrating this by lecturing on stage and then starting to hobble as he walks across the stage, kind of dramatizing how Oedipus might be imagined as walking. Why am I bringing that up? Because it seems that ancient Greek dances, among many things that they could reenact, would, as part of the variety of things represented, could dance hobbling figures, figures who can't walk straight, or figures that need a stick. There was a dance where you reenact what a three-legged person would be like in motion. And three-legged dances, that is to say, old man walking with a walking stick, is of course what Oedipus becomes as the old wretch of a man towards the end of his life. But of course, he's still walking on 2 feet as the model city dweller of Thebes, and therefore a king, in the actual plot of the Oedipus Tyrannus. So there you have the 2 feet, and then about the 4, I don't know. You understand that the riddle of the Sphinx is never fully articulated inside the tragedy itself. So the 4-foot part, where the infant is scurrying around on all fours, is the part that I'm wondering about. I do think that there was a riddle about the feet, but I think it's mostly about 2 and 3, and never mind the 4. I think that might be a later elaboration in the myth.
I wonder if Oedipus would have walked on 3 feet all the time if he's someone who couldn't walk well. Perhaps he himself was able to solve the riddle of the Sphinx through.
Well, you know, this is where it's so weird that we know a little bit of how Euripides thought of Oedipus. And for Euripides, the same brooch that is used by Jocasta, the mother, to put up her hair, is the same brooch with which she had pierced the ankles of Oedipus, making the foot swollen. And of course, then is the same instrument that Oedipus uses to put out his eyes. So that's very Euripidean. You don't quite get this in Sophocles, but that identification of the brooch with the piercing of the ankles is pretty suggestive.
But do you think that the steps, the way Oedipus walks, then do you think there's a connection between his way of walking and the way the chorus is going to dance in that play?
Oh, I do. I really do. Mm-hmm. I think the chorus, which is here, I guess, a chorus of old men, is doing a stick dance, a walking stick dance, and singing and all the rest. Yes, I do. I really do. Interesting. I mean, it's so strange for us. I mean, we don't think of genre of dancing where one moment it can be an old man with a stick, and next moment it could be a girl with a ball that she's playing with. We know that Sophocles staged something like that because he liked to get into his own dramas. And one anecdote says that in one particular drama, he played Nausicaa. He must have been a young man at the time. I can't imagine an old man doing this. You know, there's Nausicaa throwing the red ball in the air, catching it, doing choreography with it. So there were so many choreographic opportunities in classical Athenian drama. Amazing.
So what have people been saying about the myth of the Sphinx and the plot of this tragedy?
Well, one of the things that's coming up is the ability to see or to not see. So perhaps solving the riddle is a way of seeing clearly, but then later he really doesn't see clearly.
Good.
And they're talking also about the contrast to Tiresias, who can see more clearly, although he's blind, and that Oedipus can't see clearly and then blinds himself.
That's beautiful. That's a good observation. You know, something that haunts me is a film that was done quite a few years ago called Adèle H, and it was based on the life of one of the daughters of Victor Hugo, who was quite traumatized by the death of her sister by drowning. And so that's why even Adèle H, or H, as in Hugo, it conveys the idea of choking. Why am I mentioning it? Because Sphinx means choking, and it has to do with the nightmarish sensation that we sometimes have where we wake up in the middle of the night and it's like we can't breathe. So Sphinx is choking, and it's a nightmare. And it's obviously and directly tied to the Oedipus figure himself as a riddle solver. And the fact that he just happens to come along and he's the one who solves the riddle of the Sphinx, that's kind of a retrofit for what I imagined to be all along a close association of Oedipus and the Sphinx. And so it's a nightmarish solution to whatever it is that asked. And that's why he becomes king, and he is venerated, over-venerated, as if he were already a cult hero by the people of Thebes. Oh, you saved us, you saved us, you solved the riddle of the Sphinx. You know, you make us see clear after a nightmare. And I mentioned that because going back to the film, Adèle H, there are these beautiful moments where the actor Isabelle Adjani, I think her name is, you see her waking up and gasping because she keeps reliving vicariously the nightmare of her sister's death by drowning. And I was too young and impressionable, but Victor Hugo had this beautiful poem about this daughter, Elle avait pris ce pli. She had a way about her, and it sentimentalizes the boating trips, I guess, that our daughter had. And then there was this boating accident, and she drowns, and then Adèle relives it. I'm associating too much with this story of Victor Hugo's daughter, but I'm trying to conjure how our personal lives with the nightmares that shape our lives because they're built into our experiential world. Our lives can so relate to this problem solving with the Sphinx that is never really spelled out in Sophocles' own drama. Amazes me.
So in Thebes, the people of Thebes also part of this miasma, not only Oedipus bringing his own miasma, but calling him a soter when he was alive, they are also part of it.
Yes, absolutely. And in a sense, the fact that anthropologically speaking, Oedipus as king is the body politic means that, yeah, they're just as sick as Oedipus is. It's just that the pain experienced by the population is an aggregate, but it all aggregates, it all magnetizes inside this one person who's the embodiment of society. It's a very painful, disturbing myth, and I can never get over it.
Mm. Yeah, and in the end, they are both fighting to have his tomb.
Yeah.
And Athens.
Yes.
Is the city.
And it's such a beautiful purification then, which is, good. Of course, one of the reasons I love to have our participants read the Oedipus at Colonus first, because then they can see the teleology. Well, it all works out as a as a hero cult, but everything is off in the Oedipus Tyrannus. He shouldn't be worshipped yet. He's not yet a cult hero. Everything is off.
Mm.
Yeah.
And so that ability to solve a riddle of the Sphinx is sort of almost in contradiction to his inability to solve the riddle of what has been prophesied and what's been, and in fact in his father's and his parents' ability to have understood that. So it's all crooked thinking as well, isn't it?
Yes. And I think that may be a good way to sum it all up. I think what Sarah said really does sum it up. It's crooked thinking that straightens out only when it's too late. Very sad.
Well, thank you all again. It's always a pleasure.
Thank you all. Thank you.
We'll be back for hours 20 and 21 next time.
Yes.
Euripides.
Look forward to it.
All right.
Bye, everyone.